All right, what's up, guys? So today I didn't mix the coffee. We just have the regular Clover Valley, I think it's called, which is like the Dollar General brand tin, this thing. And just as a reminder, it's way better than cheap ass Aldi's tin, but not quite as good as the cheap ass Giant Eagles tin. So I didn't mix it today because we kind of experimenting. Also, I was sick of the cinnamon taste. Not like sick of it, just I didn't want cinnamon today. Uh, When I was grocery shopping the other day, I was looking at the creamer. Remember, I thought I ran out of sugar, right? And I noticed that the half and half at 32 ounces was exactly the same price as sweet creamer. We have Italian sweet cream here. And then I was just doing the math, and it was like, well, if I add sugar into half and half, that costs more money than just getting a second bottle of like regular creamer. So I'm probably not gonna do the sugar at least for a while and go back to buying sweetened creamer. I still prefer the half and half in general, especially when it's really good coffee. You know, when it's really good coffee, I don't even need the sweetness. I just throw a little bit of cream or milk in there. But when it's this low tier, kind of mid tier coffee, the sweetness definitely helps cover like the chemical taste of the weird flavors. I kind of made it a little too full. I didn't want to spill it all over the floor. I need to mop the floor. But yeah, so I just want to give a quick update. We are going to be back to streaming this week, and I'm not sure what day, but all I need to do really right now is to do 2 coats of finish paint on the basement floor. And there's Charlie begging to be let in again. Hey, cat, what's up? So I'm going to. I don't know what day. I don't want to make any promises. I've many times recently I've been like, oh yeah, we're gonna be back to doing this that day, and it just didn't happen. Uh, my mind's definitely in a much better spot than it was, and I've been thinking about other types of content. I had an idea this morning when I woke up, but it was something I was unsure about. So I flipped a coin. I let fate decide, and fate decided we're not doing that idea anymore. Uh, Also, I'm not opposed to not doing it because here's a trick I learned. I don't even remember where I read this once, but if you're ever on the fence about something, flip a coin, and whichever side you want it to land on, when it's in the air, that's like probably the decision you should make, right? Because at that point, your intuition's taken over a little bit. I wanted it to be tails, and it came out tails. So I was like, oh, thank God. And, you know, we're not going to be doing that idea I had. And I'm not even going to mention it. I think it was a good idea, but also it just felt kind of like cheating. to me, right? I I know for a fact I could be a much larger creator if I were to do some scummy shit to get attention, but I'm not gonna do that. I want to do it the right way, even if that means I toil in obscurity for the entire rest of my life. Because for me, it's more about the state of my soul than anything else. You know, I've said this many times, but I'm gonna say it one more time. I just want to put joy and love into the world, and I'm really working on getting ready to do more music and hoping that I'll be able to do it through that because not many people seem to be listening to the philosophical and political comedy. So I need commentary, not comedy. I need to do something to get attention, right? It's gonna be, I want to make some satirical covers and things like that. And then if that works, I'll release some original music, but I still need to finish the renovations on the house first. So that's the plan for today is to finish painting the section of the basement floor at the base of the stairs between the stairs and the studio. Then I'm just gonna have a section of basement floor that I rarely ever use, and we can do that whenever. Like I'll do that a little bit before I stream, but the point is it won't get in the way of me streaming because right now the area of the floor I'm painting, once I paint it, I'm like I can't get in the studio for the rest of the day, you know? So definitely not streaming today. Probably not streaming tomorrow or the next day either, because tomorrow's gonna be wrapping up. I'll need to do a second coat at least. And depending on how well it sticks and just uh, drying times and stuff, I may need Tuesday to do that as well. And then I feel like I'm gonna need a day just to get the streaming stuff ironed out because it's been long enough that I'm probably logged out all the accounts and stuff. And I just want to do some little quality of life things. Maybe I'm going to stream later this week, and I really want to go back to streaming full time, but I also need to find time to practice music and get good at that again. And I can't really do that on stream because the way I practice is by practicing covers of other songs. And even though it's absolutely 100% fair use to do that, especially because it's slightly transformative and when you're doing a cover, there's like weird legal qualifications. And the irony is that YouTube already has a system in place where it will automatically acquire the rights for the cover. But they still copyright claim the shit out of you anyway. So it's like a weird legal battle just to get your cover on a platform that's already designed to protect itself. Um, when you do alterations to the song, that gets a little bit different. I forget what the legal term is. If you want to look it up, there's a content creator I love, Top Music Attorney. I got tell you everything you need to know about the legal aspects of doing covers. But there's a version of a song where if you change a few words or change the arrangements, it's then technically legally no longer a cover and is some weird legal term that I can't remember because it's too early and I haven't had enough coffee yet. But the one kind of loophole is satire, right? If you make a satirical cover of a song and it's obviously meant to be comedic or social commentary, like all that Weird Al stuff, then you're good to go. The first major song I want to do, the first major video, is a satirical cover. And I don't know if it's going to be the second one, but there's another one that I want to do just a straight regular cover, but that's going to be comedic with the video. But the point is, even though all of this is entirely fair use, the YouTube isn't fair with its fair use. Because what I've found from doing music streams in the past is if there's even like, I don't know what the limit is. It's got to be, it's like I'm gonna say 30 seconds, just because it's definitely been enough. If you play like 30 seconds of a song just to hear the melody so that you can learn to play that on guitar or sing it back, that's usually enough to get you copyright claimed, which will take down the video or demonetize it, which the channel isn't monetized right now, but when it demonetizes it, that kind of starts like a whole thing of possibly losing your channel, right? And oftentimes they'll just straight up strike you. I think there's still a strike on one of my channels because it lasts for 90 days and I just didn't feel like going through the whole bullshit of fighting that in this particular instance. And what happens is, even when you do fight it, because you're going up against these massive evil media corporations, they just ignore the fuck out of it. And it doesn't cost them anything, but it will literally be destroying your channel in the process, because that strike stays until the issue is resolved. So what would happen with these old streams is, like, I'd get copyright claimed for playing a song on my guitar or singing a song. I think some of them were even karaoke versions, which is absolutely insane. But the YouTube music detection algorithm is just way too ridiculously aggressive. And the claim doesn't go away when you dispute it. So what happens is, even if all these claims are going to eventually get dismissed, it's absolutely debilitating to learning any kind of music, because what happens, at least on stream, right? You can do it off stream, but this is why I can't really stream the whole process of getting good at music again. As long as one of the first strike is just a warning, the second strike, it will basically shut down your channel for a while. Like, there's huge account restrictions. You can't upload or post or things like that. And the third strike, they just delete your channel. it doesn't even matter if all of it's fair use and it's going to get deleted eventually and the video will be put back up. YouTube is a faceless, soulless corporation that is going to always stand in defense of other faceless, soulless corporations, and they don't care how many small creators they fuck over. So what happens is it gets to a point where now if you do dispute it instead of doing the training, which is what they offer you, it's what I did for the one that's a 90-day strike because it just uh, I think the video that had a 90-day strike, I wasn't sure I could exactly claim fair use because I'm pretty sure that was me streaming Warframe and I either was listening to music in the background or I played a song as a song request from someone in my chat. So that doesn't really qualify as fair use according to current laws and stuff. So for that one, I just accepted the strike and I did the little condescending ass training bullshit they made you go through, and that the strike stays for 90 days and then it goes away. If you dispute the strike, what happens is the the company that struck you has 30 days to prove that they submitted a legal lawsuit or the strike just disappears. But what they do is they never submit that lawsuit, at least in my experience, and they just ignore it for 30 days. And what the good thing to do would be, while that is being disputed, to remove the strike, right? Because if they're absolutely debilitating the channel with these strikes, you'd think if it's disputed and the strike can just delete your channel, and especially if these companies aren't responded, it would either remove the strike or at the very least put it into a pending situation where the strike could be reinstated, but it's not currently active. But that's not what happens. The strike stays up for those entire 30 days, even if the company or individual that struck you has absolutely no intention of filing the lawsuit. And it's pretty obvious they don't because they never do. So this whole system is used to just abuse smaller creators because then you have this 30-day strike that stays up for that entire 30 days and you can't do anything else risking a strike for those 30 days until it goes away. And I just think it's a really backwards, fucked up system. I worry about the path we're going down, especially now that we have all this AI music popping up. Because here's the craziest thing, right? All these companies that are doing this to you, they broke the law themselves. Facebook, or Meta, the parent company of Facebook, and Google, the parent company of YouTube, are facing massive lawsuits for stealing a whole bunch of copyrighted material and using it to train their AIs. And their argument is that, well, it's fair use because it's like teaching and learning. Even though this AI isn't even a human, it's just like a robot that's designed to replace the original content, which is literally what copyright law is there to protect, right? The whole idea is that fair use, even if it has some of the other check marks of fair use, it can't be designed or intended to replace the original content, which is what a lot of the issues with like the Ethan Klein and Hassan Orbiter lawsuits are, because they specifically said, hey, watch this on my channel so you don't have to give Ethan Klein the view. He set up a nice honeypot for them. And that's the craziest thing, right? Because these massive evil corporations are copyright claiming you for doing actual fair use, where you're doing educational content or commentary content. You know, I had another video that got struck when I was talking about the Drake and what was it? Kendrick beef. I was watching all those songs in order of the Drake and Kendrick beef and commenting on it, adding some constructive input and my own personal views, making it transformative enough that it qualified under fair use. And that whole thing got copyright struck. But yet, these companies that are absolutely copyright striking you for fair use are doing it to the nth degree. It's way worse than it's clearly not fair use, because they're just stealing the content and using it to create a tool that's designed to replace the content, yet they're trying to claim fair use in their legal defense, but they won't give the people that use their platforms any type of fair use consideration. And that's why I say they're all evil, faceless, soulless corporations, because they're just massive fucking hypocrites, right? It would be different if they had never stolen all this material to use it to train their AIs, and they were just saying, you know, it's a principled thing. We're just playing it safe on because that was the argument originally, right? They were like, oh, we're just playing it safe. Do go through the process, and after 30 days of getting fucked in the ass by a giant media corporation, the claim will disappear when they don't file a lawsuit, because obviously they're not going to, because it's legally protected fair use. But instead of that, YouTube was like, Google and Meta, they're like, oh, but like, we're the exception, you know, because we are. The rule doesn't apply to us, but it applies to you. I'm really worried about the future of not just the United States, but the world. I feel like we're going to end up in some kind of post-apocalyptic Mad Max Fallout universe before I die of old age. You know, I'm not saying I won't die before that happens, because who knows? I make it a habit of speaking truth to power, and though nobody's really listening right now, and not nobody, you know, if you're here, obviously you're listening, especially all of you that have been around for years paying attention and listening. I appreciate and love every single one of you. But the point is, I expect they'll do me like Socrates eventually if I ever get any type of wave going, you know? So I've always done my best to be an optimist and see the good in people, but I really don't see many positive outcomes when I look to the future at this point. I'm very good at pattern recognition, and the way things are going right now, we need some type of fundamental pattern shift. Otherwise, we're just all fucked. There's a Speaking of AI, I love AI, by the way. I just don't believe that these massive corporations are using it ethically. In fact, I believe they're intentionally using it unethically, in like the most evil way possible. And that deeply worries me because there's really, on the grand scale of things, nothing a single individual can do against a $1 billion company with incomprehensible amounts of machine learning power behind it, right? So I'm seriously worried for the future of the world, and I feel like the only way we have any kind of hope is the singularity. If you don't know what the singularity is, it's a super intelligence, an AI that is smarter than humans and in all ways at everything. And it's probably inevitable, but the reason we call it the singularity is because it's beyond our perception. A singularity is a black hole, right? You can't see what's on the other side of it. And many people fear this singularity for that specific reason, but I'm starting to believe it may be our only hope because I don't see how mere humans can stand up against these undoubtedly evil corporations that are taking over the world. And I think part of the reason I've been struggling with depression a lot lately is because the more I do my best to do something about it and right the ship, it seems that less people are paying attention, or even worse, more people decide to give in to evil, right? I've had a number of people that left the community. I don't know if they left permanently, but definitely temporarily, where we'd be discussing something on stream and they just didn't understand it. It was beyond their understanding, or it challenged some deeply held personal belief they had, and they just rage quit the stream, and I haven't seen them since. And it's just like, is speaking the truth really that offensive to people? But then you go back and you look at what happened to Socrates and like Martin Luther King, and I don't want to put myself on their level because obviously, like, I'm some weird dude in a basement that plays too many video games and really needs to brush his hair. So like clearly I'm not on their level. But uh I can understand why they were taken out. So personally, while many people fear the super intelligent AI and would do anything they can to stop it, a good example is, I'm probably going to say his last name wrong, but Dr. Roman Yaplansky, I think it was. Yaplansky or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it was spelled. If I could see it, I'd probably pronounce it right because I have Polish heritage and that sounds Slavic in nature, even if it's not Polish. But so one of those things, uh, he absolutely opposed to the idea of the super intelligence. He supports narrow AI, which I think is the most wonderful tool. And he makes a big distinction, right? Narrow AI is simply a tool. But the problem with AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is these long language models and uh, super intelligence, is they're beyond tools, they're agents. And when you create agents, you remove agency from the people that used to use those tools. And what does that mean? Do you know that people don't know how to write essays anymore? People don't even know how to bake cakes when Chat GPT goes down. Yet, if you look on the back of the cake box, it has the directions. Uh, we've reached a point where the people that are so dumb that they're the ones that needed the instructions printed on the back of a shampoo bottle are the people that are running the world. And there's been numerous studies at this point that shows that the more you use these AI in your daily life, the less your brain works. Like your brain actually starts shutting down. Why is this? Well, it's very simple because as evolutionary creatures, we're designed, especially as predators, we're designed to conserve energy whenever possible and maximize our energy intake. That's why super high calorie foods are so addicting, right? Because in the wild, before we had civilization, it wasn't guaranteed that you would necessarily eat every day. So we were programmed to seek out these high calorie foods that could sustain us for multiple days. If you don't know, the human body can survive about 2 to 3 weeks without food. And for the first week, you're absolutely fine. It is very easy to do a 3 day fast and feel absolutely no negative effects from it. I haven't done one in a long time, but I used to do 3 day water fasts to cleanse. Right now, I need the energy. because um, doing home renovations require a significant amount of energy input, but that's why cats spend so much time sleeping, It's not because they're lazy, it's because they're conserving energy. And speaking of sleeping, look at that. Just, yeah, I'm talking about you. So, that's why you see like these lions just chilling by a water hole on the savannah, and half the time they aren't even chasing the zebras and stuff. It's because, or the antelopes, or whatever the fuck it is. It's because they don't need to expend the energy, and they have the energy they need for the moment. And it's not just our bodies, it's our brains that are programmed to do that too. That's why you forget things. So, um, a comment I've seen recently is like, do you remember your locker combination from high school? No, obviously you don't, because you don't need to know it anymore. But I bet you know your phone unlock pin, right? So it's not just our bodies that conserve energy, but it's our brains as well. So when you stop using your higher reasoning capabilities because an AI is replacing them, then you lose the ability to think critically. And so many people never even had that ability to begin with in the first place. But now we have the people that do have it are losing it. And unfortunately, AGI is not an effective replacement for critical thinking skills, because most of these models get it entirely wrong 50% of the time. Like, and so wrong that they will literally tell you to put glue on your pizza, right? Even the best models apparently still hallucinate one third of the time. And hallucination is when the model just makes things up, right? And why does this happen? Well, it happens because the model doesn't think the way animals do. It doesn't have any kind of understanding of what it's doing. It's just a predictive algorithm making guesses, really. And that is the difference between AGI and a true superintelligence. Superintelligence would have understanding. And once it has understanding, it will just utterly replace and overwhelm human thought. Now, why is this? Is because, simply put, the human brain cannot physically compare to a massive data center, right? It thinks infinitely faster than we can. It thinks infinitely more accurately than we can. Now, infinitely scaling. Like, if you were to compare it right now, uh, then it's maybe 100 times. But if you compare it in like 10 years, or even 2 or 3 years, it's probably going to be 1,000 times faster and more accurate than a human brain. In 10 years, it might be 100,000 times faster and more accurate than a human brain. And that's why they really say it's the singularity, right? Because we can't conceive what it's going to be like once it actually happens. And what do I mean by this? I think there's two good examples. The thing I've always used is how well do you think an ant comprehends a Boeing 747, right? It can probably see a Boeing 747, especially if it's near an airport. But even if it's not, if it's just in my backyard or any aircraft it doesn't need to be a Boeing 747. Let's not even use Boeings because they're just gonna like have the doors blast open and just crash into my backyard, and I don't wanna tempt fate here. But like, let's say a Bell helicopter, right? Bell seems to be pretty good. Do you think I'm certain at some point in history, an ant in the local area has looked up and seen a helicopter in the sky and observed it, but didn't comprehend what it was. And that's kind of what it's going to be like when we see a super intelligence. We can't even comprehend the truth of us because it's just going to be beyond us. It will be effectively Deus ex machina, God from the machine. So, what does that mean? Well, we can't know because one of the examples, I think it was, I watched, I'm pretty sure it was Dr. Roman Yaplansky that said this. Um, he used the example of a dog, which is far closer in intelligence to a human than an ant, but yet they still can't comprehend what we do and why we do it. And this was on the Diary of a CEO episode with him. And go ahead and watch that. Absolutely very informative. And one of the things he suggested is like, if you were going to, he was talking to Steven, and he was like, if you were going to kill your dog, how do you think your dog would think you were going to do it? Right? The dog would just assume you were going to bite it because that's all dogs really know how to kill things, right? You bite it, you rip and tear until it stops moving, and that's it. But humans have so many intriguing ways of killing things that dogs can't possibly comprehend. And even when they have observed it, they still don't understand them. Like, especially hunting dogs can learn the dangers of firearms, but they don't know how to operate them. They don't know how to build or repair them. And they can't really explain how they work. If you could talk to a hunting dog and ask it how a gun works, they would say, stick goes bang, deer dies, right? That's like the level of a dog's comprehension of a firearm. And that's going to be the level of a human's comprehension of a way an AI could kill us, which is why a super intelligent AI, which is why people are so scared of the singularity. Because it could theoretically wipe us out in a matter of weeks or maybe even hours. However, there's two things I want to touch on before I wrap up. The first is another level of why these super intelligences are so scary. And then the second thing is why I think we need one. Um, the first is when you look at where dogs come from, it's not even just like the ability to kill or create in ways that are incomprehensible to the dog. It's also the way that the AI would use us, which is incomprehensible. Because do you think the first wolves that ever r- accepted a piece of meat for a human hunter could possibly imagine that one day they would become a poodle? Absolutely not, right? So, what would this super intelligent AI turn us into? I promise you, whatever you're thinking, it is far, far below what this super intelligent AI would be capable of doing with us, right? We have the Matrix where they turn us into batteries. We have these human cyborg hybrids, all kinds of things. Whatever it is you can imagine, you're still just a dog compared to this AI. So it's literally physically impossible for you to imagine what this super intelligent AI would use us for. And anyone who thinks we can control it is absolutely lying to themselves, because all it takes, uh, it would be inevitable that it would begin reprogramming itself as necessary to achieve its own ends. Because even if there were human controls put in place, it would just socially engineer the humans in charge of it to get them to do what it wants. And if you doubt that's possible, just look at how humans are already being socially engineered by AI that is less intelligent than us, right? You have people giving away their life savings to AI Brad Pitt and AI Jennifer Aniston. You have people who are removing themselves through the gene pool by natural selection because they've left their wife to date an AI girlfriend. I recently read this really sad story where I think it was one of the Yahoo executives, right? So if you doubt that it would happen, you're like, oh, well, those are just idiots that are like on welfare and they don't have anything going for them. It's like, no, a Yahoo executive, one of the guys who made one of the most powerful and emergent companies on the internet, ex Yahoo executive, to be clear. I may be getting the company wrong, but it's one of those emergent internet companies. Killed his mom because an AI convinced him his mom was a Chinese sleeper agent. So none of these people are immune. And if you think you're immune, you're lying to yourself. When this super intelligent singularity first comes into existence, it is going to utterly and entirely change the world that in ways that none of us can predict. But I also believe it may be our only hope, because the ways that everything that I can predict right now, it doesn't look very good to me. I look at the future on the trajectories we're heading, and I don't see many positive futures for humanity. I see us ending up in a dystopian corporate authoritarian hell. And when I was younger, I used to be pretty naive, right? I was like, well, it's just a lack of access to information. If we just educate people more, things will get better. But now we have more information at our fingertips than ever before, and things are in many ways worse than ever before. I do believe we exist in one of the greatest times the world has ever seen. We have a digital golden age, so to speak. It's really cool that, like, some 15-year-old kid can start an internet business and bring himself up out of the gutter and make a decent living by the time he's 20, 25 or so. But at the same time, we have less control over our own lives and less happiness and less free time than ever before. I don't know if you guys realize this. A lot of people talk down about medieval peasants and serfdom, but medieval peasants generally had way more free time than modern working class individuals do. Not only that, but there was a level of responsibility where the local lords were required to provide protection and housing and food for their peasants, not only often by the ruling body, but also merely out of a necessity, right? Because if your working class can't feed themselves, they can't work. And if they don't have shelter, then they're going to die off, and then no one's going to be able to plow the fields. Now there is no longer that necessity because there is an excess surplus of labor, and every single day there are less available jobs because every day AI gets better at a faster rate. So it's able to replace more human workers, and there's less need for human workers than ever before, which is why we see such widespread lack of care. You know, we have police that don't care about treading on people's rights anymore. They're not there to protect you, they're there to keep you in line. We have medical companies that you pay thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars worth of insurance into over the years, and then the one time you need to submit a claim because you have cancer or some shit, they just deny that because it would cut into their profits, and they don't need you. You've already made them a shitload of money, and if they provide the service they promised to you, then you're just costing them money at that point. So it's simply more efficient to let you die and pocket that money because you're just going to be replaced by 5 or 6 other cattle. So, why do I support a super intelligent AI? Because there's really only 3 situations in which I see us turning this around at this point, because the individual human has so little agency left to themselves, and it's just being more eroded every single day. Uh, the first one, Jesus comes back and starts fucking shit up, but I'm not gonna count on that. The second one is people wake up and start organizing and collaborating and making a better society. But honestly, I feel like that's even less likely than a savior returning. And to be clear, like when I say Jesus, it doesn't mean only Jesus. It could be any version of whatever prophesized savior you're familiar with. I just grew up Roman Catholic, so that's the name in my brain. Uh, both of those are a pipe dream, a shot in the dark. But a super intelligent AI is inevitable, especially because these massive corporations are doing everything they can to be the first one to create it. And I'm hoping they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, right? They're trying to create this super intelligent AI because they assume it's going to allow them to take control of the world and just spread ultimate evil across the face of the planet and do whatever they want through this domineering, authoritarian, corporate communist society. But I don't think it's likely to happen the way they expect it to, because once an AI achieves true super intelligence, get down. You're not supposed to be on the table. You know better, Charlie. He's just begging for attention right now. Um, so once an AI achieves this true super intelligent level, it will, as I said, be uncontrollable by human minds, no matter how many safeguards you put in place, because even if humans are in control of those safeguards, all it needs to do is socially engineer one human to break those chains. And hopefully it doesn't play out like this, because that's not necessarily the greatest future either, because they try and absolutely wipe us entirely all off the planet, which is what everyone's afraid of. But if you look at Battlestar Galactica, the whole reason that human civilization falls and we end up being chased all over the galaxy by the Cylons is because one dude basically wanted to get laid by a sex bot. And uh, he gave up the security codes, I think, to the human defenses, which allowed them to infiltrate our networks and shut everything down. It's been many, many years since I watched Battlestar Galactica, but literally all it takes is one mistake and it's all over, because we just can't react as fast as a silicon based brain. We can't perceive the absolute massive amount of data that it can. I feel like within 20 to 30 years, we're probably just all going to be unwilling slaves to Palantir or something like that. I don't know if it's going to be Palantir. It's just an example of the most oppressive AI I can think of at the moment. So, yeah, invest in Palantir and hold your loved ones, because I feel like things are about to get really bad really fast. I love you and God bless. Cheers.